and it's heavy. It's too heavy to lift on your own. But this is for Richard and Jennifer to ask me to lift the boat. Now I can't take it down, so I have to get someone else to take it down from me. So it's much heavier now with all the gears put on it.
Holy moly! Now that was the boat has gone a bit heavier now since it's all painted and nearly all everything is on. The boat is almost finished now, the main hull, and because of all the extra bits that are on it now, it's gone heavier than I expected. I think it's coming in about 33 kilos or 30, something like that. So in this episode, I'll be doing some inlaying work. I'll be making the what's called they call them the acas. The acas are the two beams that hold the pontoons, and the pontoons are called amas. So that's what I'm going to do today. So and next week we will be finishing this boat and we will be starting the pontoons. So here's our video. Now we have not a problem where we had a gunwale on both sides of this, in between the plywood, the edge of the plywood. I was going to think that that was going to be a nice feature along here. It's nice, but parts of it are not so good because some of it even has green on it. And what I want to do, I want to take a trench out of this and inlay a piece of mahogany into all along, the whole way along the gunwale. Before I round off the corners. I'm going to round off the corners then, take the sharp corners off it. I'm after sanding the inside of the boat. Most of it's ready for primer again, so the boat is nearly finished. The only thing I have to do on the boat now is to put in for my mast. I'm going to use a small router. There's no plunge on this one. It's 6 millimeters. No, it's 1/4, and our plywood is 5 millimeters, so it's slightly bigger than our plywood. We have to set it up, and I have to be very careful that the fence stays against this and the base plate stays against this. Okay, so that turned out fairly well. Not 100% perfect, especially on the plywood at the front. Now, next job I'm going to do is I'm going to round over the edges of these, right? Take all the sharp corners off them. I'll use a round over bit. That's a bit with a bearing if you're not used to it. Using the small router again, and we'll do it from this side going this way, obviously, and this way going this way, and. So that's, yeah, we have them rounded off. We have to do a little bit by hand up near the end where you can't get in with the router. Wouldn't worry about that so much. Done these ones here. I'm going to take that corner out of there as well. Just along here because I think it's a little bit sharp of a corner there near, especially if you have children in it, you know. This one don't need it, no, not at all. We'll round that off a little bit with the sandpaper. This is nice now, nice to hold. So what we're going to do then now is we're going to make up, I'm going to make up the inlay out of mahogany, or Luan, or mahogany, I'm not sure which, whatever I have inside. We'll just machine it out, and we'll glue it in with epoxy glue, and we will then plane it up and sand it, and it should look a lot better then. So I've made up our inlays 6 millimeters wide, and about 3 millimeters, no, maybe 3 and a bit millimeters deep. I planed them up on the planer thickness, or I cut them out of a piece of mahogany that was so crooked that we could use it for nothing, and we're going to put it here, down here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this into it now. It might soak in a bit too much. I have to work really quick now as well. Now I have dry fitted these, but if you're dry fitting them, don't push them in too much. You might have a problem if you push them in too much. You know what will happen? You won't get them out. Now because there's bare plywood here, this is soaking in. I'm going to go back a second time, I think. I have a bit of time to work with this. You only get one chance with this, so don't mess it up. Don't put in too much. If you put in too much in there, what will happen is you won't be able to get the inlay in. It'll start creating pressure. Now this is purely optional on your boat. If you're painting this, you wouldn't. If you were painting your boat, the gunwale, you wouldn't bother doing this. You'd just fill in the plywood. But I think it might add a little touch to it. Maybe there's not enough of a contrast, but we don't get all the nice light woods that you have. If you had black wood, I have black wood there, but it's not really good wood, acacia. You can get it, but some is dark and some is not. Get yourself a little light hammer or a mallet and a piece of wood, and you're going to, because of the curve, right? It's not, if it's a straight one, it's no problem, but you have to get the very first part of it in here first. So you don't try and start bending it in the beginning, and it will go in. Now it will need persuasion at some parts. May. Now that's going in okay. Might need a hammer in some. It's very tight now, but it's going in easier now because it's going in easier with the, when I have the epoxy on it, because it's got a little bit of lubrication, whereas earlier when it was dry it wouldn't go in that easy at all. No, it's just fine, but no, I just put this in. I just want to make it look different. The middle of our boat is slightly off. I'll be putting a rail down along the front, or a fillet down along the front there, to try and make it look straighter, right? But I want this inlay coming in straight. Let's say I had the lines here, so I will go in there. This one was rather tight the last time, but I think I'm going to leave it back a little bit and then tap it up with the hammer afterwards, because it's going in a sharp, it's going in a bend. That's very tight, yeah, but it's going in. I don't need the hammer yet. Down near the end I'll need the hammer. Now that needs to go up this way a little bit, but I won't push it up that way until I get the other one on the other side. Now this is where it gets a little bit more messy. It's not perfect here, but it's not Chippendale furniture either, so it's a boat. It looks nice. I'll do it in my pencil lines again, I think, and then we'll tip it up with the hammer. And then we just push this down like this, the same as the last one. And we'll need your hammer again, your Matilda. Side, yeah, this one needs to come a little bit as I expected. Now that's, I never like to use the word perfect so much, but that's as near to perfect as you can get. And then we will do all along this one here as well, and that's it, and we will sand it up. So now we're gone to the stage that we're going to do, we're going to put in the beams. I got some nice wood. I am putting in a solid beam because I don't need paddles on the side. The paddles are on the side was for the original Duo 10, and then additional on then to hold the amas. The amas are the two little boats. That's a Polynesian word for the pontoons on the side, and it's the correct word. I got some in the local big box store, as you call it in the US. I got a nice bit of pine, no knots. The grain is okay. It's not a very tight grain, but they're nice and straight. I've cut them up. For a feature on this, I'm going to put an inlay on this like I did on the gunwale. So I'm going to put 2 inlays on this to make it look like it's a laminated piece of wood. I'm going to do it on the ends and on the top, not on the bottom. No need to do it on the bottom. It will give the boat a little bit, because this has been varnished. This has not been painted. So it will be like the gunwales won't be painted, and it will contrast with the white of the boat. So I look up the drawings here. The drawings don't give all the measurements, and these drawings are from online, so they're not to scale. So what I done was I backscale. In other words, I divide the measurement I have here, and then measure that and divide that into it, and then I will get a reasonable scale. And the piece of paper here, the way I printed it out a little bit bigger, I got a scale of 15.01 to 1, and then I was able to get it. So on the front, the 2 amas are not running perfectly straight. They are towed in a little bit. That's the way I see it, and that's the way I'm reading it there. They're towed in, not a lot. They're towed in 30 millimeters, so that's only 15 on each side. But there's a reason for that. There's always a reason for something like this. The 2 beams end up because the back of the boat, the aft of the amas, the aft is narrower on the top of the deck than on the front part where it's joined to the beam. So when I done the measurement backwards, I end up that I get my two beams are actually exactly the same size, and then that will still tow in because it's a wider one on the front, so the center will tow in a little bit. We will see. So because I'm not doing the paddles here, I will show you here. I'm going to have 2 gussets on the boat sticking up inside, and the 2 gussets will only need 1 bolt in each of them, and on each of the amas there will be 2 on each, where each one is joined, 1 here and 1 here, the same as in this one. That will keep weight down as well. Size. Now he says he's done it by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 is in the drawing, and 2 by 2. What 2 by 2 is not 2 by 2. But what I want to do is to make it look nice as well. They're not, these are light, look. But every kilo counts, or every gram counts, or every pound counts. But there's not even the pound. I've made this 50 millimeters by 36 millimeters. I think it looks balanced at that. 2 by 2, which would be 44 by 44. These were supposed to be 2. I took a couple of millimeters off this way, and I cut them down with a saw. So we're 50 by 36. That's my boat. Everyone else's boat won't be exactly the same. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the dado in it. I'm going to make the dado. Now when I don't inlay the boat in you saw earlier, what I do is I make this one I made it from a real bad piece of wood because you can't do anything else with it. So I cut it down. But I bring it down on the planer thicknesses to the thickness of the router bit. And then we will cut them this way then afterwards. But I run them through the thicknesser this way. And then I get these ones at the same thickness. So for this I'm going to put it into the vise. I'm going to put it into the vise. And we're going to make 2 dados along here. Dado or be a trench or whatever you want to call it. We will put 2 on each of these. And then we will, I will also put it on the end as well. I'll also put it on the end. I will continue them on the end. Because I want it to look like it's 5 pieces of wood sandwiched together. 5 being in a white on the outside, then brown, and then white, then brown, then white. I think it might look nice. It's just my idea. Okay, I'm going to put the inlay in. I made up the inlay there on the planer. I'm not going to show you how I made that up because it's time consuming. I'm going to do 2 inlays at the one time on each beam because I'm coming down along with the brush. I will put them through the planer afterwards when they dry tomorrow, so I don't want to leave too much glue on them. And I'm going to give it 2 coats of this because it might dry again I get to the end, and I'm going to get Rex to help me then when I'm putting them in then. So, and when I have the longitudinal ones in, then I will put little bits on the end, push them up to it on the ends of the boards. Go in by hand. Now I just put it in here and I give it a tap in here. You got Matilda there, you have, yeah. Okay, so that came out okay. Not perfect, it's not Chippendale standard, but the inlays came out very nice. I ran it through the thicknesser. Now I'm going to do round over bit. The reason I'm doing round over bit is some people grabbing onto this will be a lot easier if somebody wants to grab onto this. It's not going to take very much from the strength, but I'm going to use a medium severe round over on the router. So I'll do that with the four sides of all these. Yeah, that's fine. That's not too severe. Much easier to handle if you're jumping, if you went into the side of the boat or you want to climb out onto the thing, so you can put your arm around like a handrail. So I'll do the rest of them, then I will give them a slight sanding. They don't really need much sanding. And we will cover them in epoxy, maybe two coats of epoxy, and then varnish then after that. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this week's It's Piping Hot Here today. It's piping hot here. I just said I'll do it outside. Even though it's winter time, it's 30, probably 32 degrees Celsius. So that's the boat done. We have the inlay and I have the accas there done. Next week we will be fitting them. We will be showing you how I'm going to fit them so they're removable, so you can carry the boat in the back of your pickup or your back of your truck. Next week this boat will be finished next week. We're going to paint the inside of this as well, and the detail that we're doing here in the front, there will be a little piece there going like that. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, please subscribe up here.